You ever love something so much that you let people ruin it for you? Yeah, a lot of freelancers feel like that. And that's how this exact story starts. Let's go. So there was this guy, Darius, a personal chef in Los Angeles. Guy could cook anything. 5-star technique, home style, soul, whatever. He started freelancing after working in the restaurant for a few years. And finally ready to build something for himself, started his own business. But he had one weakness. He wanted everyone to like him more than he wanted to be respected. He didn't realize it, but subconsciously, that was his vibe. Which led him into a slave deal. See, his first quote-unquote big opportunity came from a couple in Beverly Hills. They were like, oh, we have friends in high places. If this goes well, we'll recommend you to everyone. You know that line. The one that always sounds like money but ends up costing your peace. So first, Darius lowered his rate. All right, just this once. Then he agreed to cook for a party, doubled the original headcount. Then he thought, it's okay, I'll make it work. No problem. Then they started calling him for last-minute dinners. You're the only one we trust, I'm sorry. He said yes every time. He'd grocery shop in the morning, prep all afternoon, cook late into the night, and get paid late. See that? They'd promise, we'll send the rest next week, or we'll sell you later, that kind of thing. And next week always turned sometimes into the next month, which should never happen. That's an extreme case, but it was what it was. After a while, Darius wasn't cooking for joy. He wasn't. He was cooking for survival. He'd come home with burns on his hands, smelling like garlic and exhaustion, and sometimes he'd even collapse on the couch while his son waited up late to show him his homework. And you know what's the worst part? The clients kept smiling, kept calling, kept taking advantage of a man who could never say no. Because in this business, you know, you train people how to treat you. Matter of fact, that's all businesses. You train people how to treat you, and they will. So, the breaking point. One night after a 14-hour catering job, Darius sat at his kitchen table staring at his phone. Another client had just texted, "Can you drop your price for us? We're kind of on a budget." He laughed, not a funny laugh, but a tired one. He looked around his apartment, overdue bills, empty fridge, a stack of receipts. And he had to just say to himself, you know what? I'm too broke to be nervous. It hit him like lightning. He realized, you know what? He's been playing it small and scared of losing people, and they never really respected him to begin with. So he decided to make a move. And that's what led to the comeback. So a week later, a new client reached out. A local tech founder who wanted he wanted a private tasting for a small dinner party. Old Darius would have said, well, what's your budget? But this time he flipped it. He said, here's how I work. I charge per head and a minimum of 6. 50% deposit to lock your date. Menu changes after approval incur a fee. So if they agree on something and they decide they want to change what they want to eat or whatever, yeah, that's going to be extra. He said it calmly. No smile, no apology, no sales pitch. The client hesitated. But that's higher than I expected. And Darius said, that's what it costs to do it right. Then he stopped talking. 5 seconds of silence, and then the man said, send the invoice. That silence That was the sound of respect finally paying off. From then on, Darius stopped negotiating his prices, but really he stopped negotiating his peace. He didn't chase clients, he scheduled them. He didn't hope they would respect him. He gave them a process that made him respectable and non-negotiable. So now for the new chapter. Months later, Darius wasn't the biggest name in town. He wasn't cooking for celebrities or doing Food Network shows, but he was booked solid. He was paid on time. He was respected. And he was home for dinner with his family, finally. I mean, not all the time. It comes with the job that he had to, but still. He even built a small team. He started saying no to cheap work and started teaching new chefs how to price themselves with confidence. Not with hesitation, but with confidence. Now, Darius, is he happy every single day? No, of course not. Who is? Does every client treat him perfectly? Of course not. It's business. But he's at peace because now he cooks for people who sees his craft. They see his value. They don't just see him as somebody who needs a job. He's not, just there for them to treat like a punching bag or like a piñata and see what they get out of it. No. Because I'm going to tell you like this. Once he stopped chasing approval, he started attracting respect. So here's what it is. If you're listening to this while stressing over another low-paying client, I want you to really hear me clearly. You don't need to wait for people to, quote-unquote, see your worth. You show it by setting your price, setting your tone, and setting your standard. And I know that's easier said than done. Take it from me. There were for years, people were telling me, you need to do this and you need to do that. And my first defense mechanism was, you're not in my shoes, so you don't understand. I do this full time. You don't do this full time. So, of course you're willing to turn down 5 jobs in a row. And, I wasn't crazy for saying that. I was actually right. But there were some gems in what they were saying. And I'm going to leave it like that. If you want to turn your situation around, sometimes you got to stop being scared. And if you can't stop being scared, you got to just be willing to lose something to gain something else bigger in the long run. With that being said, here's the overall goal. Not goal. Here's the overall message I wanted to, the hell am I saying? I'm hungry. I need to go eat right now. Here's my overall message. I'll make it simple. You cannot be super nervous and super broke at the same time. That's an oxymoron. You could be nervous when you're afraid to lose something, which you shouldn't be, of course, but we're all human. But one thing, if you're broke, you cannot be nervous. You can't afford to be nervous. There is nothing. Your back's against the wall. You have nothing to lose. Go for it. I'll see you on the next one tomorrow.